It is the year 2000, and a curious janitor is about to witness history in the making. She broke my heart in the trailer park, so I jacked the keys to her fucking car. That's weird. Trial number 341 of the combination machine. Today's components include Q-tips, can of chili, and the teddy bear. Let the trial begin. Something appears to be happening. Holy shit. Oh my god, it has worked. It works. It works. I have to tell everyone. As he approached the machine, inspiration struck. He reached into his pocket, which contained an assortment of things he found around the facility that day. A bar of 4130, a spare door hinge, and a Glock 17 mag he, quote, borrowed from Terry, the security guard. Dang, man. What in the world? This is how the Kel Tec Sub 2K was invented. Pew pew. Oh, that's cool. The janitor was caught by security later that day, attempting to put his junk and some Miracle Grow into the combination machine. When asked about his indiscretions, he simply responded with, "Worth it." Breathe by Faith Hill. Smooth by Santana. Maria Maria, also by Santana. Santana was killing the game in the early 2000s. That dude didn't even sing, he was just playing guitar. Why are we talking about 22-year-old songs? Because that is exactly what was playing on the radio when the Kel Tec Sub 2K dropped. And context is important. She reminds me of a West Side Story. Before we dive into it, some quick channel updates. I now have a membership to a second range, which has steel out to 500 meters, because metric. Americans in your .308, you may only shoot to 7.62 on this range. So I'm gonna start doing a lot more long range shooting, which is great, something I haven't been able to do on the channel because I haven't had a good place to do it, so expect that coming up. If you're new to the channel, please like, subscribe, hit the bell. If you're a longtime viewer, thank you so much. If you're a lurker, welcome back. Go ahead and hit the like and subscribe. You know you're gonna come back and check, so just hit the button. Also, if you'd like to support the channel, I'm over on Utreon. There's a bunch of other good gun channels over there. Cliff notes, if you need or want a reliable and relatively inexpensive 9mm PCC that you can hide literally anywhere, the Kel Tec Sub 2K is a fantastic option. Oh, and did I mention that it takes Glock mags? First off, what is this thing? This is a section of most videos that's typically pretty boring because you got a guy talking into a camera telling you a bunch of shit that you already know about a gun, typically an AR. It's got ambient controls. Mine's got a scary face milled in the receiver. It's mil spec, so it'll cycle at the bottom of the ocean. It's an AR, right? We get it. We know exactly what it is. This thing, on the other hand, is an odd duck. It's an odd duck today, let alone by 20 years ago standards. Why do I keep on harping on when this thing was released? If we travel back in time to the year 2000, PCCs are not super common, pistol stabilizing braces haven't even been invented yet, and out of nowhere, Kel Tec drops a fold-in-half 9mm carbine that takes Glock mags and only costs $300 to $400. Think about that. Like, it's 2022 and Glock doesn't even have a PCC that takes Glock mags, let alone one that panini presses itself into a backpack or a seat back pocket in a truck or a fucking toaster oven. All right, that's enough stage setting. The Kel Tec Sub 2000 is a true rifle with a 16¼ barrel. Mine is chambered in 9mm and feeds from Glock 17 mags. It's a super simple straight blowback action that feeds from a magazine in the pistol grip versus a mag well forward of the pistol grip, which makes the receiver short as hell. The length of pull is really not that short. It's only about a ½ inch shorter than a fully extended AR mag, but the whole rifle, total length, of a fully extended 16-inch AR with a muzzle device on the end versus the unfolded Kel Tec Sub 2K, the Sub 2K is about 6 inches shorter than a fully extended AR. And even when you collapse an AR stock, the AR is still a few inches longer than the Kel Tec Sub 2000. And this is basically entirely because the receiver is super, super short. Shit gets really crazy when this thing folds in half. So at that point in time, the entire Kel Tec Sub 2000 is the length of the barrel at 16¼ inches long, which is bananas. This means you can stash it anywhere. Don't believe me? Roll that montage. Hey there guys, it's been a minute. You can put it in the back flap of a Maxpedition Vulture 2. You can put it in the short drawer of a tool chest. Soft close, baby. 48 quart cooler? Hell yeah, you put about 20 of them in there. Briefcase for all you thieving fucks on Wall Street. Other places include, but are not limited to, seat back pockets, standard microwave, toilet tank at an Italian restaurant, extra large prison wallet, and many more. Did I mention this thing is lightweight? 4¼ pounds. Fun fact, it is the only rifle that I own where the rifle weighs less than the trigger pull. Let's talk about controls and manual of arms. It folds at the back of the chamber, so when it's folded, you can't fire it because the bolt isn't where it needs to be. You get it. You get it. You can't fire it when it's folded. To unfold it, you pull this little spring-loaded detent on the stock that locks the stock to the front sight assembly. When it's fully unfolded, there's a notch on the front half of the receiver underneath the chamber that locks into this little spring-loaded lever assembly that makes up part of the trigger guard. It's kind of hard to describe. I'll roll in some footage that describes it. Anyway, suffice to say, when you unfold it and it locks into place, the lockup is actually really good. And for you guys wondering, you OSHA dickheads out here, this thing has been chamber checked 9,000 times, magazine's out, and the chamber's open, so fuck off. To unlock it, all you do is pull the trigger guard down and away. So that's right here. So if you pull the trigger guard down and away, it unlocks it. That little locking block swings out of the way. And then you can fold it up, and then the detent clicks into place. Pull it out, pull this little detent down, snap it apart, and then locks into place. And the lockup, like I said, really sturdy. The mag release is where you would expect it. It's pretty prominent, easy to hit, no problems with it. The safety is a bit unique in that it's a push button safety, which you would typically find around the trigger guard and you would hit with your trigger finger to click off safety. But in this case, it's actually up by your trigger finger hand thumb. So if you're right-handed, your right thumb, where your safety selector would typically be on an AR, except for you push it to go on fire. It actually works really well. There is no last round bolt hold open, or if there is, it doesn't work on my rifle. In order to lock the bolt to the rear, you're gonna grab the charging handle, pull it back and rotate, and then to release it, you would HK slap it. Works great. The only thing that's a little bit interesting is that typically you would have that charging handle kind of up forward of the action, up here, somewhere around here with controls. In this situation, it's on the bottom of this buffer tube, which is a little bit awkward to get to. It's not too terribly bad. If you don't run it dry, mag changes are actually pretty quick and easy, but if you do run it dry, you're gonna have to grab the bolt, rotate it, lock it to the rear. You're probably gonna have to pull it off your shoulder to do that. Once again, not a big deal. Kel Tec offers the Sub 2K in a couple of different calibers. I got mine in 9mm. There's also a Gen 1 and Gen 2. So this is the Gen 1. The Gen 2 is basically the same thing, except for it's got some pick rails on it, and I think it may have some M-lock slots. But other than that, it's pretty much the same gun. Sights on this thing are a rear peep. It's pretty coarse, and then a hooded front fiber optic blade. It's kind of neat though, because when this thing's folded up, you can't see the peep. When you unfold it, the peep sight like swings up and deploys. So how does it feel to shoot? It's fine for what it is. It's really, really raw. And raw can be awesome when we're talking about a caged out race car with no airbags and traction control disabled. This is raw like homemade gyrocopter. It's technically working, you're off the ground, you're kind of having fun, kind of hanging on for dear life, but you're for sure never able to actually relax while doing it. This is in part due to it being a straight blowback action with a really heavy bolt. You know, it's some of the same things that I complained about when I was talking about my CZ Scorpion. But the other part is that the sight height over bore is actually pretty short, and it makes you have a really gnarly cheek weld on a bare steel tube. And when I say, I mean your cheekbone, like the actual bone, is jammed down on top of that buffer tube in order for you to be able to have your eye at the right height to use the rear peep. And so your cheekbone gets all of the recoil. You know, we're not talking about 300 Win Mag straight back recoil, but with the muzzle flip that you get, the cheekbone is the only thing holding it down, and then the recoil from clack hitting in the back and clack hitting in the forward, it actually blurs my vision a little bit. So the limiting factor on how fast I can run it isn't so much how much recoil it gets, it's that it hits my cheekbone enough that my vision blurs a smidge. So I have to wait for my vision to come back into focus before I can hit the next shot. As long as you're shooting at a reasonable pace, it's easy to shoot these irons, even at distance. And also, this is the only gun, the only rifle, I should say, that I have ever taken to the range straight out of the box and the irons were dead nuts on at 100 yards. I couldn't believe it. I literally have never touched the sights on this ever, and it has been dead nuts since day one. Rolling some footage of me shooting some clay birds offhand at 25 yards. The peep is fairly wide, and the front sight blade is also fairly wide, but it fits the gun, right? I mean, it's the right sights for the gun, in my opinion. It's fine. For what you're gonna be doing with a 9mm carbine that folds in half and you keep in a backpack, it's great. As far as reliability, I probably only have about 500-ish rounds through this thing. Having said that, I've only cleaned it once in its life, and I've only oiled it once or twice in its life, and it has been in backpacks and truck bags and all sorts of other stuff, and it only gets shot maybe once every year or two. I don't really shoot that much through it. I've never had any issues with hollow points. I've never had any issues with factory ammo. Some of my reloads are like ragged edge, like 127 power factor, and that it has choked on a couple of them. It's just where the empty wouldn't clear the ejection port, but with any factory ammo, I've never had any issues. What does anyone actually need this rifle for? What would you use it for? What would I use it for? This is a question that even I struggle with. It is a super neat gun, but you can't really deploy it very fast, and you can't shoot it while it's folded. So I wouldn't think any sort of like EDC self-defense type thing. I mean, you can deploy it reasonably fast, but it's not like you're gonna draw on fire, right? Or it's not like you're gonna whip it out of a backpack and shoot it while it's folded. So you're gonna have to remove it from wherever it is and then unfold it. So I don't really think a self-defense type thing is the role for it. Could it be a range toy? Fuck no. Absolutely unequivocally no. Is it fun to shoot? Sure. If a buddy had one, I'd burn a mag through it, but I'm not gonna go to the range to shoot this thing. What about the obvious one, a truck gun? Sure, but let's be completely honest here. If you leave shit in your truck, it's going to get stolen. It's just a matter of time. It's gonna get stolen unless you live in Utah and all of your neighbors are Mormon. Now, that's not to say that Mormons don't steal things. They steal things all the time. It's that they're too busy debating which wife they want to take out on a date. Bam! Polygamy burn, baby! So what would I use this thing for? The two use cases that jump out off the page at me the most would be kind of a get home bag or bug out bag type situation if you're into all that stuff. And then the second option would be for situations where people are legitimately space constrained. So that would be like camper, RV, bush plane if you got it like that. If you're into like adventure bike riding and you've got, you know, or like an overlanding rig, or you're really into boating or sailing, something like that. Something where you're legitimately space constrained, but you want something that can reach out slightly further than a pistol, and you don't have to deploy it right this second. So I know that's kind of a narrow use case, but the thing that makes it cool is because this is like, or used to be, a $350, $375 gun. I think now they may be like $450, $500. But you know, if you're around like the $450 mark, it's inexpensive enough that you could not have a super defined use case for it and be okay with it. If this was like an $800 gun, I would say you better make damn sure you know exactly what you're going to use it for. But being that it's a less expensive gun, and they seem to hold their value. I mean, this thing's gone up in value since I got it like 8 years ago. So anything in that area seems to make sense for me. All right, thank you guys for sticking around to the end of the video. Make sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already. Any questions, comments, drop them in the comments section below. And once again, some longer range footage coming up here shortly now that we got steel out to 500. Thanks.